Benfica Podcast is one of the founding members of Benfica Independent. Benfica Independent is an independent platform made by fans for fans. And in it, you can find our podcast, along with many other podcasts, along with articles of opinion, video segments, and much, much more. We're also on patreon.com/Benfica Independent with exclusive contents for our patrons.
Hasta que no estás aquí dentro no sabes la grandeza de este equipo. Sí, es un club que tiene una grandeza que no se comprende si no estás aquí dentro.
São de uma magia única, benfiquista, que só nós sentimos assim. Por muitos desgostos que possamos ter, valores mais altos se levantam. E o valor mais alto que se levanta em termos futebolísticos chama-se Benfica.
Quero o Benfica intimidar o adversário. Quero o manto sagrado entrar com vocês em qualquer estado e assustá-los, pá! É isso que eu quero!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Talking to the Dog Benfica podcast. My name is Alfredo Fumacic. How's everybody doing? Dave, how are you?
I'm doing well, Alfredo. Great to be back on here Tuesday evenings, another night, another podcast, as Steve used to say. So
Yeah.
good to be back on here. We got some Freddies, not as active in the chat as they are. Maybe they're just trickling in here, but shout out to some of the Freddies. We got Bruno, Shiku in there as
Kevin.
well. So shout out to Kevin as well. So we've got the regulars in the chat there.
Yeah, and the 9 people or 11 people that are watching, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Here we are, episode 499. Tonight, no Chris. Just Dave and I are going to bring this home. On tonight's podcast, the agenda is we'll look back at the Salzburg game. We'll also look back at the Portimonense game. And we'll look ahead to the Porto game, which comes up this Friday. We also have Inter on the horizon, which that takes place on Tuesday. So a week from today. We're still deciding whether or not we're going to do the podcast on Monday or Wednesday. Most likely Wednesday, so we could recap both the Porto game and the Inter game. So we'll have a full schedule for you rather than we thought about doing it Monday, but maybe so we could preview the Inter. But that's okay. We'll say a few words about Inter. I don't think Inter has lost any games, but we'll talk about that. But let's get right into the show. I'll give you the lineup against Salzburg. Match day 1 at Stadio Luz. Benfica opening up their 23-24 Champions League campaign against Red Bull Salzburg. Trubin was in goal. Ba, Silva, Otamendi, and Auschnitz. Neves and Kokshu. Di Maria, Rafa, João Mário, and Musa up top. Not much to say about this lineup, Dave. That's what we usually see here from Roger Schmidt. What can we say about this game, right?
This is I think this is Roger's lineup that he has the most confidence in. We'll put the spin on that. I know last week I said this is our strongest 11, but really I think this is our strongest 11 in Roger's eyes at the moment. I know there's not that many Benfiquistas who like seeing João Mário in the starting 11 week in and week out. But in Roger's eyes, I'll preface it with that this is our strongest 11 at the moment.
Yeah, I think that he looks at and he says this is the strongest 11 of players that I have available. They're at their top of their form, I should say. It looks like our injury list is now only one player on there, and that's André Gomes, who is one of the reserve goalkeepers. So Bernat, which was listed on that, is no longer on there. I think last week we had mentioned that Bernat was working out with the team. So is Guedes. So is Jurasek. Jurasek actually made an appearance against Portimonense. We'll get into that when we get there. But certainly, what can we say about this game, right? Look, it's Champions League. Every player in Europe that's in Champions League looks forward to these games, right? It's the anthem, it's the atmosphere, it's the top competition for club teams. And as a player, you come into these games, you're motivated. You're extra motivated. The coach didn't have to do any motivation for you to play this game, because it's a big game. Everybody wants to play in big stages, under the lights, under a large TV audience. So Salzburg was up for it, and they came at Benfica despite playing that slight illusion. They came at Benfica early, and in the 3rd minute, Trubin punched the guy in the face. Punched the guy in the face, and PK for Salzburg. Salzburg ended up skying the ball, but they didn't let up. And in the 15th minute, and Dave, you and I were just talking about this, 15th minute, kind of like a freak play. I was watching the replay again before we came on, and kind of like a freak play. It's a bounce. It's a deflection of a tackle. The ball bounces on the grass, goes up towards the goal. Tony Silva just jumps. I think he's just trying to cover, make sure that if the ball were to go under the bar, that he's there. The ball hits the bar, comes down. As Tony Silva is coming down, hits his hand, and it's a clear penalty for Salzburg, and that one didn't waste. But certainly, look, it's a type of competition that your mistakes, you pay dearly for your mistakes. The chances that we've had, and we had quite a few chances, even with 10 guys, the chances that you create, you have to put them away, because they're so far in between, if you ever create some, that when you create them, you can't be wasteful. I remember João Mario.
Even in that lead up to that goal, though, there, Alfredo, if you probably 30 seconds before that, if I'm not mistaken, João Mario hits the post, and we have a chance to score off the rebound as well. And if I am not mistaken, that's the counterattack that God knows what Ba was doing there. I think he lost that physical challenge, and he didn't put enough into that ball, and that's how the penalty is created, if I'm not mistaken, on that same counterattack. But there's an example right there where Benfica didn't capitalize on Salzburg. Got to give credit to them. Got on their horses and created that counter attack, which ultimately led to that freak, unfortunate play where Silva is going to get the card. But if we score right before that sequence, it's a totally different game.
Right. And look, it's a game of chances. It's a game of chances, and if you don't put them away, you risk that the other team, when they have chances, they get put them away. And I think that Salzburg, being not the favorite on paper to qualify in this group, they feel that they have an outside chance. And I think that there's teams that when they have the underdog status, they play without pressure. And I think that's what Salzburg did. They came in, instead of saying, okay, we're just going to lower our lines, we're going to give possession to Benfica and see what Benfica could do. No, they came right at Benfica, hoping that they would find a moment of lack of concentration and score, and sure they did. And if they hadn't missed that first penalty, it could have been really ugly. And then you go down in the 15th minute. You go down one man with Silva. Picking up a red card as a result. Murato comes in for João Mario, so we lose a guy in the midfield in detriment of a defender that we needed to put in. And I think that then it was kind of an uphill battle, but we did have our moments. We had our moments both in the first half and in the second half, especially in the latter part of the second half. But in the 51st minute, again, inside the first 50 minutes of the second half, a period that's so important for both defending teams and attacking teams, or teams that are chasing the results and teams that are trying to hold results. Allowing a goal in those 15 minutes always gives the other teams a new breath of fresh air. And I think that Salzburg just got confident from there. Again, substitutions in the 72nd minute, Chiquinho and Neres coming in for Kokshu and Di Maria. Substitutions are what they are. Roger Schmidt has been like this throughout his career. It's not arriving at Benfica that's going to change. So however he's reading the game and however he has a pulse on the game, he makes the decisions based on that. Us on the outside, we feel different, but you're not going to change Roger Schmidt. He's been the way he's been throughout his career, and it's not, like I said, it's not because he got to Benfica that he's going to change. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, really, that we started the game, started the campaign at home with a loss against a team that's not really favored to go on. And Dave, what can we say about this?
That's just my frustration with Benfica in recent years. When we get drawn in these, I don't even want to call it easier groups. But let's put it easier on paper, groups where we're thinking, okay, we should be getting through to at least the knockout stages. And then we always seem to be playing down to our opponents. And I know you had made the comparison about Salzburg playing without pressure because they weren't the favorites. I feel like when Benfica are the favorites, they kind of take, I don't know if they take it for granted or
maybe they feel the pressure.
It is, but maybe they feel the pressure, because look at last season. We were drawn in a group with PSG, Juventus, and Maccabi Haifa, and I know there were some of us that were confident that we would put the game to Juventus, but on paper that's a much tougher group than the group that we have been drawn to this year, and it seems like time after time, at least within like the last decade, whenever we get these easier group on papers, Benfica tend to play down to their opponents rather than putting away and doing their business. But that would be my only frustration what we've seen from Benfica in recent Champions League history.
Yeah, Sergio Sequeira saying, I can't defend Roger again on the management of this game. You can't manage it the same as when you have 11 men. I don't disagree, but that's all our opinions. I think that, and I've said this before, with Roger being extremely intimate with the team, knowing what the team's strengths are, knowing how much he could pull out of the team, knowing each player's traits, he's faced with a set of factors in which he makes decisions on that we are not privy to. So I tend to give him the benefit of the doubt. Were the substitutions late? Yeah. I think that if you go down 2-0 in the 51st minute, I think the very next 5 minutes you have to be making a substitution to chase the result. Instead, he makes a substitution in the 72nd minute. But like I said, this is Roger's MO. And you're not going to change it now that he's at Benfica, because if he's done it throughout his career. But it raises a lot of questions. Then again, he might have thought, well, the game is out of hand. I'm just going to manage something here. I'm going to just coach something here, and let's see what comes out of it. But certainly the changes that needed to be made to make an impact on a game came a little bit too late for me.
And I know Chris isn't here tonight, but Chris and I and Bruno were going on in the chat while that game was going on. And I know Chris, if I'm not mistaken, was making the point that Roger got the substitution wrong, bringing in a Chiquinho instead of a player like Florentino in that match too, with us already being down a man too. So I know I'm usually here trying to
Defend Roger.
defend Roger from the criticism, and I was doing that in the chat as well because at a man down, it's always going to be an uphill battle. But I would agree that Florentino should have been brought on if you're going to make that substitution earlier, to bring on a guy like Florentino instead of a Shikingu if you're still trying to go and get a result.
Yeah, look, you can make that argument that you bring Florentino, that gives more freedom to João Neves to go forward. Florentino is much better defensively, but I don't know that like I said, there's a set of factors that Roger Schmidt looks at that we may not have insight in terms of what they are and how it influences his decision. Dave, not the way we wanted to start the group. Inter tied Real Sociedad. And Real Sociedad, which we had mentioned, are not going to be any easier than Salzburg. Certainly, they showed themselves well against Inter, who has been excellent domestically. But the fact that not those two teams tied, it maybe gives us a little bit of a lifeline, if you will. And I know this is only a first game. It's maybe a little too premature to be saying that you're out of it or you're on your back foot. But certainly now you have to go to Inter and you have to get a good result. If you don't get a good result, you're down two games with no points. And certainly that's not a position that you want to be in with 4 games left, and understanding that you need basically usually 10 points to make it to the second round or to the knockout stages. So it's going to be difficult. So let's see how we handle this. But Dave, stats on this game so we can move on to the next topic.
Yeah, for sure. Antonio Silva's red card in the 13th minute was the fastest dismissal from a Benfica player in Benfica's Champions League history. First time since 2017 that Benfica had conceded 2 penalties in the same game. And history is not on Benfica's side. The 7 previous times where Benfica lost their opening game in the Champions League, they failed to make it past the group stages. So
say that again? Say that stat again?
7 previous times where Benfica's lost their opening match in the Champions League group stages, they failed to make it past the group stages.
So there you go. The challenge is out there. We'll see what how Benfica deals with this and Roger deals with this. Now turning our attention to Portimonense, which happened this past Saturday. Benfica played Portimonense, went down to Algarve to play Portimonense or Porto B, however.
Sunday. What am I talking
about?
Sunday.
Sorry. However you want to call it, and I'll give you the lineup. Not much different than what we saw against Salzburg.
Hey, come on, we got to give some. There was some rotation.
No, and
we saw.
I was going to go into that and say why, right? But yeah, okay. there was a couple changes. Trubin was in goal, Otamendi, Murato, and Auschnitz, Tino and Kokshu, João Mário, Neres, Rafa and Musa. It was a lot of changes. What am I talking about? So Murato came in for Silva. And I do understand this. I understand that, look, you're going to have to face Inter without Murato. Let's give him the minutes. After all, I mean, there's a lot of people, myself included, that feel that Murato has the qualities to be a starter. Is he right now in a better moment of form than Tony Silva? That's questionable, but certainly is a guy that could come in and handle the business. Albeit there's times that he lacks a little bit he has mental breakdowns, but certainly is a guy that you can trust. I trust him more than what's that guy? João Vitor. João Vitor. I trust Murato more than João Vitor or Tomás Araújo, which neither one of them have gotten a lot of playing time. But yeah, so Murato was in, and I think I understand, and I think that Roger did explain in the press conference that you wanted to give Murato minutes. Tino came in for Neves. That was the other change in the midfield. So again, we've spoken here about the difference between Tino and Neves. Tino is more positional, and on a defending side of the ball, he does a lot more than Neves does. But going forward, he struggles. He struggles with progression going forward. But there's a lot of people that are of the opinion that when Tino is playing, it gives Kokshu more freedom. While when he's playing with Neves, there's a lot of times they kind of occupy the same spaces. So I understand that. The other thing was resting Di Maria. So Neres got the start ahead of Di Maria. We found out pre-game that Di Maria had some complaints. Picked up a knock, and as a result, it wasn't available for this game. So whether it was a muscle injury, whether it was fatigue, Roger Schmidt made a game time decision of not starting Di Maria. I don't believe he was even available on the bench for this game. So Neres got the start. But look, this is why we have a deep squad, is that when guys are missing, other guys could come in and nobody's really saying, oh man, this guy's playing, I don't know about this guy. I think that both Neres, Tino, and Morato are good options, and nobody's questioning these options or the value of these players or what these players can bring to the game. So it's good. It's a good situation to be in, Dave.
Yeah, and this is what we've all been clamoring about, is we have the depth this year to rotate the squad, especially when you have a game every 3 or 4 days, right? And Morato, we got to give him credit. I know he didn't start the Champions League game, but he pretty much played the close to 90 minutes, and he's been great from what I've seen these last 2 games. So it's not out of question. I know you put it out there. Is he better shaped to be there over Antonio Silva? It's not far out of reach where one way or the other, right? Like they're both great players to insert there. So it's a good problem to have. And yeah, we've all been clamoring to have Neres start. So give Di Maria some rest if he is picked up a knock, and get Neres some run there too.
Yeah, certainly. So a very different start by Benfica than against the game against Salzburg. Strong start. 5 minutes, 1-0. Goal from Ba off of an assist to Kokshu. Laser rocket into the far side by Ba, and we've seen this before from him. In the 17th minute, Benfica goes up 2. This time with Musa with a clean strike, Dave. No rebounds off of a Neres assist. A play that started with Trubin, hit Kokshu. Kokshu hits a through ball through 2 guys, finds Neres, and then Neres just on a cross finds a well-positioned Musa to put that away. Very extremely good play by Benfica. And this is what we expect from Benfica. But yeah, nothing to do with the Salzburg game, and we could have gone into the half with more goals. But again, this year, and I was going to ask you to do this, but compare up in both moments of the season, last year and this year, up until this point of the season, up until we're in 7th round of the Portuguese league.
6.
I wanted you to look to see how many goals, and I know that we played 4 additional games before the Supertaça, so maybe we don't count those. But how many goals had Benfica already scored up until this point of the season compared to this year? We had goals from Gonçalo Ramos, we had goals from João Mário, and the team was being productive in terms of scoring goals. This year, Rafa, for as much as he's wasted, Neres has wasted a couple. I think everybody has wasted opportunities. And I think that, we come to find out that if you don't put those opportunities away, as I mentioned, you have a way of keeping the other team in a game. You could also change the course of the game. If you score early and you put a team away, there's a very good chance that the rest of the game is going to be a more relaxed game. And I like relaxed games. I don't know about you, Dave, but I like sitting on my couch watching a game and not have to worry. Go to the kitchen, get a bottle of water, get a snack, come back. Everything is chill. Nothing's happening. Benfica is in complete control. But that hasn't been the case with Benfica.
I've just quick numbers here because I pulled up last season. So just the Portuguese league through the first 6 games of the season. Last year we had scored 14 goals, and where are we at this season? So we've actually scored more goals in the Portuguese league. We've scored 16 compared to last year's 14, but the main difference is the goals conceded. We've already conceded 7 through 6 games, and at this point last season we had only conceded 3. So,
right.
But yeah, I would agree. It's we're getting goals, but not necessarily from the guys that you would expect to be scoring goals. I know Musa has been scoring here and there, but most of our goals, like you said, last season it was Rafa and Gonzalo Ramos and João Mario, but you're not really seeing that this year. So concerning a little bit possibly, but it's not necessarily scoring the goals is the issue. It's keeping the goals out of our own net, which is causing the anxiety and not having us be able to watch the game comfortably.
Yeah. Bruno Gil Rodrigues, bonsoir, mon ami. Comment ça va? Ça va bien? Also, we don't pressure as much as last year. I agree with that. Our pressing last year was a lot better, but don't forget, you also had your first line of defense with Gonçalo Ramos was a guy that worked a lot in terms of the pressure, in terms of covering ground, in terms of blocking, passing lanes. So we don't have anything close to that in Musa or Anthony Cabral. So there's a difference. There's a difference between the team from last year and this year in terms of the pressure. After the half, Roger, I almost fell off my chair, Dave. After the half, Cabral came in for Musa, Neves came in from Kokshu, and Ba came in for Jurasek came in for Ba. Yeah. So I'm thinking about this, and it's great. I think that there's some squad management on this, right? But Kokshu at that time was doing very well. He's probably one of our best players. I think that Musa was doing well too. Had already a goal in his tally. But I do understand with the game under control, wanting to give minutes to Cabral. And Ba, at the end of the half, looked like he had picked up a knock, and maybe Roger Schmidt didn't want to risk anything, so he brought in Jurasek. You're up 2-0. You can manage the game, and you could give these guys that need playing time minutes. 56th minute, again, inside those first 15 minutes of the second half, Benfica gives up a goal. And really, during that time, it was like an odd time where kind of Benfica almost fell asleep, and they gave Portimonense a lot of the possession. Portimonense with nothing to lose, right? You're down 2-0. Let's just give our fans a good showing here in this game. Came up, raised their lines, and started gaining confidence. They score, they get one back in the 56th minute. In the 60th minute, they had a penalty, which I don't even know if you could. I don't remember the penalty. Was it a penalty, Dave? Do you remember?
I think you said it was a penalty. It was a penalty off Moratu's.
Oh yeah, no, that was a penalty.
And,
yeah. I'm thinking about the Auschwitz penalty, which whatever. But yeah, Moratu. As soon as I saw the first replay, I knew that was going to be called. Trubin saves, right? So a lot of people are ready to burn Trubin at the stake already. He redeems himself by saving a PK in a game that if we allow that goal, it was going to be an uphill battle because Portimonense is now full of confidence. We're sleeping. I don't know how long it was going to take for us to get back into that intensity and that rhythm that we had in the first half and how we started the game. Cabral just looks like he's playing with 10-pound weights on his ankles. He just looks to be playing at a slower speed. The technique is there, but I think that he's way too slow yet for the game. I thought that Jurasek didn't do bad when he came in. And Neves is Neves. And I think that Benfica dodged the bullet when Trubin saved that penalty. And then in the six minutes later, Benfica put the game away with Neres off of a half a feed, putting the score line at 3-1. Before the game was over, Tomás Araújo came in for Tino, and Tankstead came in for Rafa for Benfica. But Benfica does end up getting the 3 points down in Portimão against a daring Portimonense that, despite being down 0-2, wanted to come out and play. But
they were attacking Arshness down. I know at that point Arshness had switched over to the right side, and that concerns me when you're gonna go up against Porto this weekend. I know they're on top and they haven't necessarily been playing their best football to start the season, but we always say that we always get out coached in these matches, and you're seeing these smaller clubs attack Arshness and getting goals out of it. Yeah. That's really concerning coming up against a big match on Friday.
Yeah, it's concerning that teams are not creating as many chances as you mentioned, and every time that they come down, they end up getting something for their efforts. And that's something that Benfica needs to work on. I think we need to work on freezing up games and putting games on ice so that teams don't really bother, and we can have a nice, relaxing second half. That it's not happening these days, Dave.
What are those?
Yeah, I don't know. Bruno Gil Rodrigues says, I almost had a heart attack at that miss under Trubin. Yeah. we had that miss. I know that the ball, I think he might have just been controlling the trajectory of the ball, but nonetheless it didn't look good. The optics of it is not good. I don't know if Trubin at this point is feeling the pressure. Because after all, we sold Vlaco Dimos, a goalie that had been with us for the past 5-6 seasons, and we gave the keys to a young Ukrainian, Trubin, and despite all the potential that he has and all the good things and plaudits that people have said about him. Certainly, there's been a few moments in these games that have left me nervous, and the jury's still out in terms of Trubin. What'd you think, Dave?
Yeah, and I think Roger alluded to that too. Like he said at the end of the match that Trubin is not a 35-year-old experienced goalkeeper that the team bought, right? He does have potential, and he is still young though, right? So you're not going to see a fully polished keeper back there or somebody with a lot of experience. So it's there's going to be some growing pains along the way, but hopefully they don't cost us too many times this season.
Yeah, no, I hope not. Because here's the thing, Benfica doesn't really have the time to have project players. This is a team that needs results. This is a team that needs to win competitions. This is a team that is in the Champions League. We can't really afford to have project players in which we just dismiss it as, it's the learning curve. It's part of the learning experience. No, Benfica just doesn't have that luxury of giving time to a player to mature. We just don't. We don't. And if you want to be competitive, you can't do that. Sergio Skid is asking, does Bernat have a shot of playing against Porto? I very much doubt it.
I don't think so. He hasn't had any time with the team. He's probably training with the team, but he hasn't had any game experience, and that'd be unfair, I feel, to
Yeah.
just throw him into the fire in such a big game like that.
Number one, as many expectations that we have on Bernat, and we have him for good reason, right? He's a good player. He's played at the highest level in the biggest stages. Certainly, he's a guy that you'd want on your lineup. I just don't think that coming off an injury, coming off perhaps not a very normal preseason at PSG, because he was already on the list of players to negotiate out or to be loaned out. I don't know how much of the preseason he had, how many reps he had. The chemistry, I'm not so worried about the chemistry, because a guy that plays at his level and has had the experience that he has, he could pick up on the dynamics of the team. I just don't think that he's at game rhythm right now for him to start against Porto. I do think that we will see him sometime in the next few weeks, perhaps coming in the second half, just to get the cobwebs out and get those minutes, just like Jurassic did this past weekend. But I don't think that he will play against Porto, to be honest. And Brunjil Rodriguez says, and how alarming is when you have to see Tomás Araújo as right back? I think that there's it's not good that we don't have a natural right back to compete with Ba, but certainly if we have players that could deputize or that could plug a hole, and that's the best that we have, then that's the best that we have. I don't know what to tell you, but I think that you guys all know, we all mentioned here on a podcast before the season that Benfica needed to go get another left back and another right back. They went to get the left back, but apparently couldn't get the right back. So, and Roger seemed satisfied with João Vitor.
I know what it is. Is he's satisfied with Arshness filling that position when that becomes available, because that's what we saw this past week.
Yeah, and Arshness played 3 different positions this past week, right? And look, it's like there's that Portuguese expression, "é pau para toda a obra." So it is what it is, to quote one of our previous coaches. But certainly, look, the biggest thing is to take out a lot of good things from the games, build up on the things that you need to improve on. 3 points are 3 points, and right now ahead of this game against Porto, you needed to maintain that distance to Porto. Dave, stats on this game so we could move on.
Yeah, for sure. Musa's 4th goal of the season, 3rd in league competition. Ba and Arshness both made their 50th appearance for Benfica. I didn't see any videos for either of them. For Ba or Arshness, I believe. I didn't see any.
You're right. We saw the video for Neres.
We saw it, yeah, and for Antonio Silva right after Neres, but none for Ba or Arshness. Benfica conceded 5 penalties this season through the first 8 games. Last time Benfica keeper saved a penalty was January 21st, 2022, which was Vlaco Dimos against Aroca. And Benfica is the best attack in the league with 16 goals through 6 matches. However, have also conceded 7 goals, which is Benfica's worst defending record since the 2011-2012 season.
Good call out on those stats. And for the longest time, people just hated Vlaco Dimos because Vlaco Dimos hadn't saved the penalty in years. Anything was a pretext to criticize Vlaco Dimos. You know that.
He was here for, like you said, 5 seasons? And I was pulling up the stats. He only made 2 penalty saves. So that last one came in 2022. I'd have to go back and see when the first one was, but he only made 2 in his career with the club.
So the fact that Trubin saved the penalty, that's points in his favor, but certainly there's other aspects of his performance, both against Salzburg and against Portimonense, that kind of leave you wondering if this is the guy that we've kind of been sold on, right, as the next biggest goalkeeper in Europe. And I certainly hope so. But at this time, I think that there's a lot of people with questions and doubt. As a matter of fact, I think that there were people that went on Vlaco Dimos' Instagram and said, "Come back."
I can't believe it.
Yeah, it's just that Benfica's fan base.
Those were bots that were paid by
bots,
paid by Vlaco Dimos.
Yeah, but it's just the Benfica fan base. It's really, from 1 to 10, they're all over that spectrum, really. Up next, the game that we all love and they all look for every season, Porto. The game takes place this Friday at 8:15. Both teams are involved in Champions League competition, so as a result, the games will be played earlier, so both teams get their rest. Benfica playing on Tuesday. I think Porto may be playing on Wednesday, because I think they usually alternate between
They both
teams.
can't play on the same day.
Yeah, and Dave, you wanna throw some stats, the stats that make us cringe?
Yeah, let's get it kicked off here. Porto currently tied in first with Sporting with 16 points from the first 6 games of the season, 5 wins, a 1 draw. Historically not in our favor, 90 wins, 62 draws, 101 defeats. Last 10, 2 wins, 2 draws, 6 defeats. And last 5 at the Estádio da Luz, 1 win, a 1 draw, 3 defeats.
Yeah. Awful stats in terms of results in the history that we've had with Porto. And look, when I'm looking at this game, it's probably it's the perfect time to face Porto, right? And if you guys have been following the Tugão, Porto has won their last 6 games, and all have been in at a time, or
all their games that they've won this season in the Portuguese league have just been by the bare minimum 1 goal. So
they have squeezed
+5. Yeah, they're +5 goals, but that's how it is. They've gotten every single win that they've got this year is
by the smallest margin
of their teeth.
By the
so you can look at it 2 ways. You can say, "Oh, this is a weak Porto team," or you can say they've got that lady luck that usually most teams need to have when they go on to win the championship. So I'm choosing to look at it as this is a weaker Porto side.
Yeah.
But then I do have some hesitations and reservations about our own squad at this time too. So it's going to be evenly matched, that's for sure.
Look, I think that on paper we have a squad that could beat this Porto, and let me just say that they also have quite a few injuries that they're dealing with. Pep, it doesn't look like he's going to be available for Benfica. Marcano just had some knee injury or ligament. I don't know what
ACL,
it was.
I believe.
ACL. There's a few other guys that, they have an extensive list in terms of injuries and guys that are available, and that's this is the perfect time for us to play Porto, but we need to beat them. I think they're probably the most vulnerable right now, this Porto team, despite being in first, because they have won their games the way they have won them. But I think that it's the perfect time to really stick a dagger in them, and they're not going away, right? But they need a little bit of reality, because they've squeezed by against the minnows of Portuguese football, and now it's finally a serious game against serious competition, and I think that we need to make them pay for what they've been showing so far. But like we always say, Dave, I think that when the draw comes out, the first game that Porto circles on the calendar is when they play Benfica. And it's a special game for Porto. It's more of a special game for Porto than it is for Benfica. And Porto really gets up for these games, as we know. I'm not giving you anything that you don't know already. I think that they just get motivated to the max to play against Benfica, and they won't rest until they beat Benfica. And I think that we don't have that type of attitude with them.
We don't have the attitude, and they come prepared. And I'm not trying to be negative about it because I'm sure our coaching staff prepares as well, but the execution, they just pinpoint our weaknesses and they go in and execute it and attack those weaknesses, right? Um, so like I pointed out, like all of these smaller clubs in Portugal that we've been playing against attack us against the Arsenal's side, and they're scoring goals too. It's one thing to attack, but if they're not scoring, that's another thing.
Yeah.
But we're already seeing that we've conceded 7 through the first 6, and with a side of Porto, injuries or not, they still have more quality there than any other opponent that we've played so far. So
Yeah.
nervous about that. But then like I said, on the flip side, they're just squeaking by against the opposition that they have been playing. So they haven't really been playing any top competition either. And we
No.
can't forget a month and a half ago, we already got one over them too. So
Yeah.
we've got that revisionist history on our side.
Yeah, absolutely. Tony Fig is saying os adeptos também não ajudam o Benfica quando as coisas estão correndo mal no jogo. I agree, and there's been some talk in terms of the atmosphere at the stadium, but I think this is the price you pay when you, as a club, you make the game an event that's just not for fans, or it's for fans, but a lot of the fans are not the diehard fans if you were to have 25, 30,000 people at the stadium. These days you have I-50s, might hit the 60 mark, but look, it's a mixed crowd. It's a mixed crowd. It's a younger crowd. There's a lot of families. There's a lot of selfies being taken. There's a lot of things that are going on aside from supporting the team. And I think that fan base has a hard time understanding what the game needs from a fan aspect, right? I also think that the supporter groups are not doing as much as they should to get the stadium going. Because if they set the example and they, more than anyone else, have a pulse on what the team needs at different times of the game, and they could be ones that get the stadium going. And even if they're trying, maybe people are just they're not feeling it. They're feeling more nervous than driven and motivated to cheer the team on, to really propel the team into a win. So I don't know, but go ahead, Dave.
Sorry, I was gonna ask you, Alfredo. You might know more than I do. I just have a genuine question. I know you calling on the supporters group to kind of lead the charge, but are they not? Are they kind of handcuffed at this? Like, are they being told not? Because I know back in the day, if you watch any films or tapes, you see all the flags, you see all the pyrotechnics, and I know there's a push that Benfica doesn't have any clacks, or if you want to put it that way. So are they kind of being handcuffed, or what's the word on the street with the supporters group? Because there's definitely a change there, but is that them being forced to change, or just a different group of people that are now a part of those supporters groups?
I think there's a couple things. And I'm not completely sure, so don't take my word as gospel. But within these groups, there's always some warring factions within the groups, and I think that's not good for the unity of the group and for the efficiency and for the job that the group has. Right? There's also the factor that both groups were moved from what their usual spot in the stadium is. I believe the Diabos are already back into their usual spot. There's still a little bit of the no-name boys that some of them have moved down to where they usually are, and that Piso Zero. They were up on up a couple levels up. They were moved up when this whole thing with Cartão do Adepto came out and everything. They kind of had to almost be removed from that area because that area was just for the people with the Cartão do Adepto, and that's why we saw that at times last year empty. So I think that they're still trying to kind of find their best spot or really come together as a group in order to cheer the team. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but that's me just from an outsider's perspective. I don't have any insight in terms of what goes on with those groups. This is just me from the things that I've heard. Chico Marcelino saying Trubin got whistled when he was holding onto the ball. And he says this is ludicrous. He just got here. I get it, but that's the Benfica fan. The Benfica fan has no patience whatsoever with new players, and especially when the fan base is so polarized in terms of what their opinions are. I think that there's guys that are going to look for the next opportunity to criticize and to whistle and to boo, because that's where their mind is at, rather than no, let's support all the players because this is the best we could do for the club and for the team. No, they have their beliefs. They're against certain decisions and they're going to criticize rather than do something for the greater good of the team. So unfortunately, that's the fan base that we currently have. It's a fractured fan base that one group stands on one side, the other group stands on the other side, and we just fight against each other because of all these things when we should really be united and cheering for the team and wanting the best for the team, regardless of what the choices are, and regardless whether you like player A, B, or C. You should be cheering on the team. You want that player to do well. You want the team to do well. You know, what good is it going to do to whistle Trubin if he's holding on to the ball? What are you going to get? What do you get out of it? Is it personal satisfaction because you have a vendetta because you like Vlaco Dimos and you don't agree with Trubin? Or was it the fact that you wish Samu was in goal? So there's a lot of different opinions, and it's great to be a Benfiquista because you're allowed to have these different opinions. But the fact of the matter is that at the end of the day, these opinions are what divide us. Instead of uniting us and us united supporting the team is going to need us against Porto. No, you got these different factions that are waiting for the ugly duckling to make a mistake so you could whistle, that are waiting for another player to make a mistake so you could whistle and boo, rather than, hey, forget it, he's a Benfica player, let's cheer everyone on. But that's the state of Benfica, and with the fan base fractured as is, it's hard to be able to be an influence from the outside to the team on the inside, and the team needs it. God knows the team needs it. When they fall asleep, they need a good kick in the ass from the stands to get them back into the rhythm that they were in. And it's just something that we don't have right now. We have this division with the fan base, and people with formed opinions that think that their opinion is right over the others, and that's not the case. Tony is saying os benfiquistas têm que ajudar quando as coisas estão a correr mal do jogo. Yeah, I agree that benfiquistas need to help when things are not going well. I think that as benfiquistas, we need to kind of, like I said, give a kick in the ass to the team, cheer the team on, lift their spirits when we feel that they're in trouble. Not only during that, but during the whole game. So, I don't know. I think that if you are going to the game this weekend, I mean, support the team from whistle to whistle. And then if you're not happy at the end, then you have a right to express your emotions, whether with the boo, whether with a whistle. But wait till the end of the game. Base your actions after the game on what you thought of the game and whether the team is worthy of a clapping send-off, a good send-off, or a whistling send-off. I think as a fan, we all have the right to express our opinions. But I think during those 90 minutes or 90 plus 27 if you're Porto, you need to cheer from whistle to whistle. That's it. It's that simple. Whistle at the end, after the final whistle. From the beginning to the end, you should be there cheering your team. And I understand that you might be in the mindset, oh, I paid my ticket so I could do whatever the fuck I want. That's fine. You could do that
I
too.
mean, I think I would, as long as you're making some noise. It's when the stadium is quiet. I feel like that's even worse. So
Yeah.
at least if you're whistling, you're making some noise. But there's been times when that stadium, and you can tell, especially in these big matches, when the players need that support, right? You might be nervous as a fan, but guess what? The players are also feeding off that same energy. So
100%.
if you're putting that uneasiness into the stadium, the players are going to feed off that, and that's not going to help their mojo. So
Yeah.
if you're going to be one of the lucky ones there, be a 12th man, 12th woman, and help this team to victory on Friday.
Yeah, Dave, I completely agree with you. And it's the team feels it. The stadium is quiet, and oftentimes the stadium may be quiet because they're nervous. They're nervous about what they're seeing, and they're anticipating the worst. They're expecting the worst. And at that time, you have to be that 12th man. You gotta make a difference when you see that there's apathy in the team's behavior and the team is not playing well. You need to be part of that team. You need to be the force that comes from the outside to really get the team up. Because, like you said, the team feels the atmosphere of the stadium. And if the team is not playing well, and now the stadium is also feeling that the team is not playing well, that's not going to work out well. If the team is not playing well, but they feel that the fans are behind them, they feel that the fans are supporting them, they feel that the fans are there for them, it's enough to lift your spirit and to get you back into that mindset that where you need to be to make this a successful team. Other than that, I mean, we're just a bigger part of if you're in the stadium, the people that are in the stadium are just as big of a part of the game as the team is. Because that big of a crowd, you have the voice to be able to motivate and to be able to influence the team. Use your voice to be positive and to influence the team in a positive way. Because if you're just going there to whistle and to boo and to criticize, don't bother. You could do that at home. You don't have to pay for a ticket. Whatever. Dave, enough of that. Off of my soapbox. But look, this Porto game is important. Is important to us because, like I said, Porto's been squeezing by. They're currently in first, sharing that. They're sharing that spot with Sporting. Yeah, they're sharing that spot with Sporting.
Yes.
They're currently in first. I think that Benfica is 2 points?
1 point behind them.
1 point behind? Yeah. So if Benfica loses the game, that's 4 points. And you give up your home field advantage. Because in case of a tie, there's several tiebreakers that go down. And I think the head-to-head is one of them, and the win at the opponent's stadium is part of that head-to-head matchup. So, look, it's our stadium. The team did excellent to beat Porto in the Supertaça. Let's do it again. We could do it. There's no reason why we should be afraid. No Pep, no Otavio. So I think those two key figures are very important misses for Porto. So we'll see. Maybe Dr. Milagres could recuperate Pep in time. Who knows? I mean,
You're working on it.
I've seen I've seen those things happen. Dave, what else we got? I think that's it, right? Short one. Cristiano's not here.
Preview?
Oh, Inter preview. Yeah, if you want to talk about it. Inter's been doing excellent. Much better than last season. If we go to Italy with the same posture that we played against Salzburg, we're going to end up coming out of there with a full bag. So maybe the underdog role is going to suit us this time, Dave. And we're going to go there and really play a game that's up to what our capabilities are. But nonetheless, it's going to be
tough.
It's going to be tough.
Inter's been playing much better this season than they were last season, at least to open up the Serie A. Perfect record through the first 5 games, 5 games, 5 wins, 14 goals scored, only 1 conceded. Didn't get to watch any highlights on that Sociedad draw, but I've been watching a couple of their games in Serie A, and they absolutely manhandled Milan in the derby last week, and I believe it was a 5-1 result, if I'm not mistaken. So Inter's definitely the front runner in Italy this season, and teams they're very well organized in the back. It's going to be very hard defensively for us to get any opportunities. And what we've been lately, anyways, with this Benfica squad, the opportunities of finishing, it's going to be very important. Do get that punish them, and we get those finishes.
Look, like I said, it's the perfect situation. We kind of really need to exert our superiority on paper, because when we look at our squad and you look at their squad, I mean, there's probably not a lot of positions that I would trade a Porto player for our players, but certainly, it's Porto, and not always the team that is in worst form is the team that loses these games. These games are anything can happen in these games. Most of the time, as the record shows, Porto beats us. So we'll see.
And that's why I think I'm scarred. I say this every time we go out to play them. I'm just scarred from previous history and meetings. Even with this not being the strongest Porto squad, and how they're coming into this match, and even just past revisionist history. Like, we've got the Supertaça not that far back ago, but I don't know. I'm permanently scarred, I think, from these bastards. I'm gonna go 1-1 result. Both teams get on the scoreboard because we can't defend
against Porto or against Inter.
Yeah, against Porto, 1-1 result. Yeah,
look, Inter is going to be the toughest challenge that we faced all season, and we can't look past Porto to play Inter. 2 extremely tough games in their own context, so it's going to be hard. I was supposed to get together with some friends, and Thiago was here from Visão Vermelha earlier, and I was supposed to get together with him and watch the game down in Newark. But unfortunately, I will be traveling to Southern California, and I will be in Southern California until Friday night. So I won't be able to watch the game even live, because they're 3 hours behind us. So 8-hour difference from LA to Lisbon. So we'll see.
Chico's asking for our starting 11 versus Porto.
Yeah, I think, look, it's probably not much different than what we've seen. Trubin, Ba, Silva, Otamendi, and Auschnitz. I think that he may go with Tino in the midfield and Kokshu, just to shore up that midfield, because Porto's secret has always been to kind of smother us in the midfield, even though the past few games they have approached us with a very high press. So maybe it's good that Tino is there, but then again, Tino under pressure is not the best ball mover. I think that when it comes to handling the press and moving the ball around, you're in a better position with Neves in that. I think Di Maria will be on the right, Rafa Musa, and I think João Mario. I don't think it'll be much different than we saw against Salzburg, to be honest with you. I don't think that Neres is going to play at the same time with Di Maria, especially from the start. If we're down, maybe you see something, a little bit of throwing caution to the wind. But I think, I don't know. SLBES, I'd go with Tino and Neves and drop Kokshu. There's a lot of people of that opinion. I am of the opinion that we have been seeing Kokshu be more and more familiar with the team, with what the team needs, what Roger Schmidt needs. And I think we have seen an evolution of Kokshu, and he's just getting better and better. So, I don't know. But I don't think you sit Kokshu, man. That's your marquee player that you went and got this year. I guess you can make an argument for Di Maria, but that's the one acquisition that you went out and spent lots of money on to bring in. I very much doubt that. SLB says I'd go with Tino Neves, drop Kokshu. Yeah, so I don't know. Chico Marcelino, I think Tino struggles a lot under pressure. We must go with Neves. He was MVP in the Supertaça. I don't disagree. I just finished saying that Florentino, when pressed, he doesn't have that internal clock or even a technical ability to get to release a ball early or to get away from a press, whether it's two guys that fall on him. And I think that João Neves does have that ability as well as Kokshu. So I don't know. Bob the Builder said, didn't Tino play most games last year? And now we afraid to use him. Tino was Enzo's partner, if you remember. And this was before Neves was even a blip on the radar. Right? So he was the guy that complemented Enzo extremely well. Extremely well. With the emergence of Neves, Kokshu on the scene is a different context. And that's how I think that Roger Schmidt is looking at it. But I agree with you. Tino was excellent with Enzo. But I think that a lot of times in partnerships, one influences the other. And sometimes traits of one complement the other. And one makes the other one better. And when they both play together. There's compatibilities that they have that other duos might not have. You see that in the middle. You see that in the center of defense. There's guys that don't really complement each other just because of their traits, their personalities, sometimes their playing style. And I think it's up to the coach to really think about what kind of challenges this Porto game is going to present and what two players are going to be best suited to be able to face these challenges and conquer them. I think that's how you approach a game like this, is that what two guys are going to be able to come up against the challenges you were anticipating from Porto. And I think the challenge is going to be that high press on Porto that they've had success on, and what two guys are equipped for that. SLBES, Tino played every Champions League game and dominated. Rogers losing his shit. I've heard that before. Tiago says, I'm pretty sure we will play with Kokshu and Neves. That's why Kokshu got subbed and why Neves didn't start. He rested them against Portimonense. Yep. Could be.
Any word on if Ba's injury is going to hold him out this week?
Apparently, both Ba and Di Maria will be ready to go. The paper is reporting something else, but we all know those narratives are what they are. But Roger Schmidt said after the Portimonense game that Di Maria would not be a problem against Porto in terms of availability. So we'll see. In terms of Ba, If Ba doesn't play, Auschwitz will play.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm thinking here because I'm scared that Porto is gonna eat us alive wherever Arsenal is, and I love Arsenal. I'm just thinking whether or not this is the time to put Jurasek
Yeah.
back there and finally get back to a more conventional back four. But I guess we'll have to wait and see and wait for Rogers' lineup on Friday.
SLBES says Roger isn't up to par. He's our weakest link. I think that, look, you can't erase everything that the guy did last year, right? Especially in the first 3 quarters of the season. I think that Roger's biggest challenge right now is managing the depth on the squad. I think that's his biggest challenge right now. A game idea or a game model, you kind of stay true to that. That doesn't go away. You kind of stick with that, and that's your identity. But I think when it comes time to you looking at a squad and you got plenty of options, and now your decisions are a lot harder to make. Your gambles, if you want to call gambles, right? Because if he's working with the team every day and he's making decisions, he's obviously got things that he's basing his decisions on, right? So I don't know if it's gambles, but certainly if 2 players are kind of like he feels that 2 players are on equal level, but he feels that one has a slight advantage, and it's a bit of a gamble for him. Okay, I think I'll go with this guy because I don't think there's much of a drop-off if we go with another guy. And sometimes those gambles backfire. So I think that his biggest challenge right now, the biggest challenge for Roger Schmidt, is managing the depth of the squad. Not so much managing the personalities, the egos and that, but I think it's managing the depth. He has yet to find that starting 11 that's the strongest starting 11. So we'll see. Let's see. Chico Marcelino saying, when Guedes is 100%, can he steal the place of Musa as a striker? He could. I think that Gonçalo Guedes could play in all those 3 positions up front. The thing is that part of the game idea? Is that what Roger Schmidt envisions for Benfica? Certainly Guedes could give you the same work rate that Gonçalo Ramos gave you up front. But I don't think that Guedes is a striker of the same traits as Gonçalo Ramos. Let's see. Bruno Gil Rodrigues, and don't forget against Inter we'll have Murat. Yes. So I don't know. I'll be curious whether Murat gets a start against Porto and continues to get the playing time, or if António Silva is back in there. I think that's my biggest doubt, along with the guys in the midfield. But I do think that he might go with Neves. Tiago saying, yes, for sure. My opinion, Schmidt is waiting for sai da frente Guedes. Yeah, look, I think when you look at what you had, and obviously, Sheldrup is at a certain stage in his career. I think that he obviously thought that holding on to Guedes would be something better than what he had in Sheldrup at this stage in Sheldrup's career. So I think that he was the one that kind of pushed, if that opportunity was there for Guedes to stay, for Guedes to stay, and he stayed. So I think that there was something on him. Bruno Gil Rodrigues says Murat is the guy that misses more passes after Florentino. Yeah, I'm hot and cold on Murat. There's times that I really like his hard man personality, but I think that he has lapses at times. And all the players' girlfriends should shut the fuck up, honestly. SLBES, I really like Guedes, but him and Renato are so prone to injury. Yeah. We need Bernat SAP, says Chico Marcelino. Tiago says Porto is absolutely dreadful this season. We beat them in May and we'll beat them again in September. Simple. SLB, yes, Rogers' last 10, 15 games last season were so shaky. I'm losing faith in him, especially his ability to work with the players. Yeah, as I mentioned. Guys, I certainly appreciate all Go ahead, Dave.
Let's not lose all the faith, because
yeah, guys, positivity, man.
I told Chris if Roger doesn't last the season, it is what it is. Guys coming back to finish it off. So that's the only reason why I've been sticking up for Roger here, is because I cannot do another season with it is what it is to try to salvage the season. So,
and Dave, you know he's in a perfect position to take over. I know right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I mean. Like, are we happy with Roger and some of his management? No, but it can be a lot worse. So shut up. That's what I'm going to do. Shut up and deal with it. I think at the end of the season we can reevaluate and go from there, but I cannot have another season finishing with Mr. It Is What It Is.
Yeah. Tiago's saying the man won a championship and a Supertaça in a month, and a few weeks later some Benfiquistas won him out. He's lost 3 important players in Enzo Ramos and Grimaldo. He's working on that. Fair point. Bruno Gil Rodrigues, Porto will have their best player on VAR.
Only if the batteries are plugged in, though, right? Oh, it's at our
Stadio da Luz, yeah. They got that 6G at Stadio da Luz. They got that good shit. Anyway, that's all we got, man. We stretched it out a little bit to answer your comments and to get a little bit. When Chris is not here, we usually go a little longer. I'm trying to make it a little longer. Anyway, that's all we got for you guys. Thank you so much for being in the chat, for being interactive in the chat, for interacting with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. We appreciate that. Next week, episode 500, big round episode for us. No other podcast in the Benfica universe has reached that milestone. So we're very happy the fact that we've been here for you.
I'm going to put it out to the Freddy's challenge. I'm seeing that we've got 962 subscribers here on YouTube. So who's ever listening, whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcasts, or if you watch us live every Tuesday or Wednesday night, go on our YouTube page and hit that subscribe button. Let's get to 1,000 for episode 500.
There you go. Here. If Dave is asking, you must do it. Take care, everyone. Dave, always a pleasure. See you again. We'll do Wednesday of next week. So a week from tomorrow, we'll do our podcast. Take care, everyone. Later.